Rebecca Dirks with PremierGuitar.com, and we're at Winter NAMM 2010. We're over here at the Reissue booth talking to luthier Roger Fritz and Tony Blair about everything that they've got going on, what's new. So let's start by talking about what you guys are doing in a broad sense with this line. I mean, everybody knows the K name.
Well, K's been around since 1890. During the 1950s and 60s, the guitar had a very professional flair and a professional group. K was one of the first companies to mass produce electric guitars. The guitars became extremely famous when people like Jimmy Reed and Howlin' Wolf were playing them with blues music. That particular type of music morphed into today's modern rock and roll. People like Eric Clapton were playing the guitars. People like Bob Dylan were playing the guitars. Paul McCartney still plays the guitars on certain recordings. The guitars we're going to be reissuing over the next 2 years are about 15. The first two are the Thin Twin, which is known as the Jimmy Reed model. The other was the Pro Bass. Those have been out for about 1 year now. The next issue will be the Jazz 2 and the Jazz Special Bass. After that, we will be doing the Upbeats, and then the pinnacle at maybe a year to a year and a half from now will be the Barney Kessels. What we've tried to do is we've made guitars both overseas, affordable. We call that our Street Series. We also do the guitars in the United States, which is our recording series. The prices start around $1,000 for the Street Series, and they start around $3,000 for the US versions.
And tell us a little bit about the one that we just heard.
This one is one of our US versions. Roger Fritz, who is a luthier, who builds guitars for many people like Randy Jackson and people like George Harrison, is the luthier in charge of the project. He is the one who's building the guitars in Mendocino, California for our US version. So this particular one is just showing a customized version of what the guitar could be done with a Bigsby vibrato. This guitar normally doesn't come with a Bigsby, but this is a US custom version.
Great, and we've got another one over here with the Bigsby, and that's new, right?
This is what we're introducing at the show. This is the next series. This is the Jazz 2 guitar. This is the one that Eric Clapton played when he was with his first band, the Roosters. Okay. This particular guitar will be available in March, along with the Jazz Special Bass, which is the bass that Paul McCartney has played on many of his albums.
All right, so now you're the man behind it all, getting the work done, right?
I think so.
Okay. So when you're approaching these projects, how are you approaching, building them? You want to do just like straight to the specs of what they were before?
We had to have something to start with, so I have about 50 old vintage Ks in different forms of disrepair. So we took them all apart and kind of spec'd it all out and put them all back together again, saw what worked and what didn't work, made some improvements, and kept all the good stuff in, Obviously, they all look the same. They're manufactured in the same way to get the same sound. We just helped out a little bit by putting truss rods in the neck, things like that, little things like that.
Little modern touches that most people don't want to live without now.
Yeah, so it's just all fun. We love these guitars, and I've been doing knockoffs of Ks for years until finally I realized the guy was still around that owns the name. So I said, let's work together here and make a new line of vintage reissues. And so we kind of had a meeting of the minds and came together, and look, this is what we got.
And if people want to learn more about the guitars and what you guys are doing and kind of keep up on the new releases, where should they go?
Easiest place is go to www.kvintagereissue.com.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks, Roger. This is Rebecca Dirks with PremierGuitar.com at Winter NAMM 2010.